How are we keeping, guys? I'm down in City Gym in Limerick today to meet Lennon to talk to you about some muscle gain stuff, some fat loss stuff, and yes, you're going to enjoy this one, I hope, because this man is a wealth of knowledge. So let's get cracking.
Take it slow, but it's not typical. He already knows that my love is fire. His heart was a stone, but then his hands were on. I turned him to gold and it took him higher. But I'll be
There he is. Lads, how are we keeping? I'm here with Lennon from Sigma Nutrition, and basically I'm going to get straight to the point. There's a lot of lads that come to us in Galway in our gym, Fitness, and online as well through Snapchat and whatnot. Dave, can I build muscle and can I get lean? Or can I get build muscle and tone up? Whatever way you want to look at it. They want to build muscle and drop body fat at the same time. Or they have those clashing goals over a long period of time. So basically I'm after pulling this that aside, and he's going to dive into kind of three main areas of it, diving directly into those questions. And if you have any seriousness at all for this stuff, listen to Danny, because the wealth of knowledge this man has and practical experience is unbelievable. So Danny is going to take it away with his first.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll dive in. I think the first thing to address when we're looking at this whole issue is the question of, can you actually gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? Because I think it's pretty much a universal goal for most of us to gain more muscle and to lose body fat. And the thing is that most people, when they're looking to try and do it at the same time, have to be aware of a few things. Number one, technically it is possible, and I mean we see this over and over again in research, that with a certain type of training and a certain type of diet, you can gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time. This particularly seems to be more an issue for if you're new to training and you have a lot of body fat to lose, then you're in a prime position to be able to do this. Now, for most people though, in general, it's probably a better strategy or a simpler strategy to kind of separate those out into separate phases of having a period of time where you're going to focus solely on fat loss, and then a period of time where you're going to focus solely on gaining muscle. That way you can maximize each of those processes. So if you focus on trying to do both at the same time, even if you do achieve that, you won't be able to set up your nutrition and training to absolutely maximize muscle gain or to absolutely maximize fat loss. You'll do a bit of both. Whereas you can probably spend a period of time focus solely on gaining muscle, and then a period of time focus solely on fat loss, and then kind of cycling between those two. If we're going with that strategy, which I think for most people is probably a good idea, particularly if you've been lifting weights already for a certain period of time, and you don't have a huge amount of body fat to lose, then we have to look at, well, what do each of those processes entail. So first, for the fat loss phase, we're probably best to consider, if you want to go through either a fat loss phase or a gaining phase, I would say that the number one consideration is probably your current body fat percentage. So this has a number of different implications, but I think one is mainly that most people don't realize is the psychological impact of, if you are at a body fat percentage that's relatively high and you decide to go in a gaining phase, for example, sure, you can gain muscle, but you probably won't commit to that process of eating enough food and start gaining weight, because you won't be kind of happy where your body fat is at. So in general, I think for most people that are at let's say a body fat percentage for most guys of 15, 20%, whatever it is, it's quite an arbitrary number, just a body fat percentage that you maybe think is a little too high for you, or you prefer it to be lower, then your best strategy is probably start by getting leaner. Get leaner first, then when you're down lean at a body fat percentage you're happy with, then you can transition into gaining muscle, and you can fully commit psychologically.
And that is exactly what I did. About this time last year, I went through a period of, I think it was 4 months in total, of leaning out first. Because I felt I was around that 15% range, and I kind of went by just looking at fucking images online to kind of see where I was at, asking kind of people like Danny that were more knowledgeable than me to see how lean I looked visually as well. And after the 4 months, I got leaner. I got the leanest I've ever been in my life. But the con for me was I felt small, and that was kind of like a big drawback. But initially, Now I've set that foundation of getting lean. Now I can build upon that without worrying about getting fatter as such. So that's probably the next point I want to throw in there, and Danny's going to build on that now as well.
Yeah, so the second thing outside of just mentally, I suppose, of how much body fat you're carrying, the more you gain weight, for any type of weight gain, so if you're gaining muscle, the more you're gaining weight over time, you're going to have some sort of fat gain with that. And again, this is just something that's inevitably going to happen. There are things we can do to minimize that, but in general, there's going to be some degree of fat gain. So with that, what you're probably looking to do is reach a point where you're gaining muscle and gaining fat, but then when you reach a point where that fat gain is a bit too much, so again, when your body fat is getting higher, then transition back into a fat loss phase. And this is for a number of reasons, but to keep it very simple, that the higher your body fat percentage goes, the more of the weight you gain thereafter is going to come from gaining fat mass as opposed to purely lean body mass. And so the leaner you are, then the more of the weight you gain each week, for example, is going to come from lean body mass. So trying to get down lean first, number one, psychologically, and then two, physiologically, so you can actually gain more muscle for each weight you go, is probably the best way to go. Then the final thing we'll say is how much rate of change you should probably look at. Typically for a weight gain phase, I think, again, if you're a brand new beginner to lifting weights and you're going to go start a resistance training program and eat a lot of food, you can probably gain quite a significant amount of muscle. But in general, as an average for most guys, I would say aim for about 1 kilo per month as a rate of weight gain. If you're gaining like 1 to 2 kilos every single week, then it's probably likely that a good degree of the weight you're gaining is body fat as well. So let's aim for about 1 kilo per month and do that consistently over a number of months. Maybe take 3 to 6 months to start gaining some muscle and really commit to it for that period. Then if you're looking at fat loss, I would probably aim for somewhere about half a kilo to maybe up to a kilo per week of a body weight decrease each week. And again, that depends on how lean you already are. If you're already pretty lean, you want to go very slowly with your fat loss attempts so you don't lose too much muscle. So about half a kilo a week. And if you've got a significant amount of body fat to lose, you can go a bit higher than that. You can aim to lose about a kilo a week or maybe even a bit more, depending on how you set up your diet. But they'd be general ways to go. And then over the course of the year, you're just transitioning from gaining phases to fat loss phases. And over time, your body composition will gradually improve.
So Danny, would like over the phase of a year then, would you judge that off in terms of how long you stay in a gaining phase compared to how long you stay in a fat loss phase, down to your body fat levels solely, or would you judge it off other different factors?
Yeah, so in general you could do that. So for most say lean guys, I would say that, or relatively lean, you want to look at over say the course of 12 months, probably having more of those months in a gaining phase, just because it is such a slower process to actually gain muscle. So over the course of 12 months, you may spend 8 or 9 of those gaining muscle. It could be 6 or 7 for someone else, and then maybe like 3 to 5 of those maybe in a fat loss phase, depending on how much you have to lose and how much you don't. Then the second thing is, if someone has a lot of body fat to lose, and so they want to spend most of their time still losing body fat, I would say that there's probably a good reason to come out of fat loss phases every now and again as well. I think psychologically it's very tough to say I'm going to diet and stay under eating for 6 months. So I would tend to try and cap it for people at maybe 10 to 12 weeks, use that as a time at the absolute maximum to stay dieting. And then after that period of time, come back up to maybe more of a maintenance level or even a gaining phase. Stop thinking about fat loss for a while, focus on training performance in the gym, focus just on enjoying training, eating a bit more intuitively, eating a bit more normally. Then after another maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks, then if you want to lean out more, then you can go back into a fat loss phase. But I certainly wouldn't advise people to always think I have to diet until I'm lean enough, because it's very rare someone actually thinks they're lean enough. There's always leaner they can get. So I would say 10 to 12 weeks of fat loss phase at most, could be even less, and then transition out of it for a while.
Yeah, because like the first time I did want to get big and get lean, I had to come to terms first that right, I have to go to a fat loss phase first if I do want to look lean and bigger at the same time. So after I got that lean, I've spent since literally I'd say the last 9 months gaining. Now, since up to about a month ago, I've been kind of in a maintenance phase, just kind of maintaining where I'm at. And now I have a goal. I'm going to Dubai as I'm shooting this video in 6 weeks' time, and that's given me a kick up the arse to get lean enough, or just get leaner for Dubai. It's kind of put me into a fat loss phase. When I get to Dubai, I'll relax a bit. When I come home, I go back into a gaining phase. So when you look at that over the course of this year so far, that's 4 months gaining, a month kind of where sitting around the same, and then only 6 weeks so far in the fat loss phase. I'll reassess then to see where I want to go. Am I happy with my training? Am I happy with how I look? I'm back playing GAA a lot lately, so again, those factors will all come into play. Holidays will come into play, and then you start getting more advanced with things like diet breaks and what. But that's what Danny kind of means as well by the psychological aspects of it. Don't underestimate those, because that comes into your real life at the end of the day, and people think by reading something in a blog or a video that you have to do 4 weeks this, 8 weeks this, 12, it doesn't go like that. It goes by what suits you, and I think that's enough for this video. So again, a quick recap from Danny. What are the 3 main things, Danny, we covered there again?
So number 1, you can indeed gain muscle and lose fat at the same time for some people, but in general it's probably a smarter strategy for most guys to aim to try and do them in separate phases. Secondly, then, you want to base whether you should go into a gaining phase or a fat loss phase based on your current body fat percentage. If it's relatively lean or you're happy where it's at, then go into a gaining phase. And if you're not too happy with your current body fat levels, then maybe lean out a small bit first and then transition upwards. And then just it depends of how you periodize that over a year. I would say a big thing, as opposed to focusing on say like a 4-week diet or what you're doing for the next kind of 4 weeks and having no other goal, think about where you want to be in 6 or 12 months, and then you can build backwards from, okay, what months would suit me best to go into a dieting phase, what months would suit me best to go into a maintenance phase or a gaining phase, and then you can base that around things like, are you going away on holiday, or you have a certain goal, or if you're an athlete in the middle of a season, you don't want to be, say, dieting when you're in the middle of the championship. So having a long-term goal and then basing on those weights of change we saw. So if you're looking to gain muscle mass, you're probably looking at around 1 kilo a month on average for most people. Again, with maybe beginners getting away with a bit more. And then on the fat loss end of things, you're probably looking at to lose body weight about either half a kilo up to 1 kilo per week for most people, again, depending on your body fat percentage. So the relatively leaner you are, you want to take it a bit slower, aim for about half a kilo, and the bit more you have to lose, aim for maybe 1 kilo or slightly more per week. And that's pretty much it.
Danny, thank you so much for that. That was
my pleasure.
That was brilliant. Guys, just in case, like in terms of further reading and stuff, just to recap over those points, like if we've anything related, blogs, the Sigma Nutrition website, I'm going to link those directly up below, and I'll link all Danny's places if you want to follow Danny. He's telling me he's getting more active on Snapchat as well, so
we'll see.
I'll link those all up below this video, guys. But thank you very much, and we will chat to you soon. Bye bye.
Jesus, don't say that, man.